Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tolu, and no, this is not just another statement of purpose video because in this video I'm actually going to go over with you in detail key elements that a statement of purpose should include, and a bonus, I'm going to show you two statements of purposes that I wrote. I'm going to show you my first draft of my statement of purpose and my final draft after I got it reviewed by a PhD student and also a faculty member who was then a postdoctoral researcher. So you don't want to miss this video, you don't want to skip any part of this video, and you definitely want to share this video with your friends. What is the statement of purpose? If you've applied to graduate programs before or you're in the process of applying, you definitely know what a statement of purpose is. But I'm just going to read here for the benefit of those that don't know, or just for us to get good clarity on what we're talking about here and have a good starting point. So I'm reading this from the Northeastern University Graduate Department graduate application website, and it says, a statement of purpose is a critical piece of a graduate school application that tells admissions committee who you are, what your academic and professional interests are, and how you add value to the graduate program you're applying to. Sounds very easy, right? And it sounds like an easy thing to write, but most times writing a statement of purpose could get very technical because there's a lot you have to offer. There's a lot to say about yourself and what you have to give to the graduate program you're applying to, what you hope to learn from them. But then sometimes it's easy to get lost in so much in all that you have to say that you don't really get the right words to put them succinctly. So in today's video, I'm going to try to break down the process for you and tell you key elements that should be included in your statement of purpose. Like I said, I'm sure you're going to find this video helpful, so stay tuned. I applied to graduate school for the first time in 2019, and it was to the International Center for Theoretical Physics Postgraduate Diploma Program. It was, when I look at my essay now, I just laugh because, well, I couldn't find my ICTP essay when I was preparing for this video, but I did find my essay for the Berlin Mathematical School. I applied to the BMS in 2020, near the end of my ICTP program. And I did find my BMS essay when I was preparing for this video, and it really did make me smile, but it also made me see how far I had come and how much I had learned about expressing myself in words. And in 2023, I applied to schools in the US for my PhD program. I earned my master's degree with the BMS in Germany and the diploma program at ICTP in Italy. And now I'm here in the USA for my PhD degree. And I had to write essays like we all have to do. I wrote statements of purposes to different schools. I had my first draft ready, then I sent them to a PhD student in one of the universities I was interested in, and also someone who was at that time a postdoctoral researcher that I was working with. And they graciously helped me review my essays. I'm so thankful for that. If you're watching this video, I'm saying thank you again. Thank you so much for taking the time to review my essays. It's not easy to find someone to review your essay because it's a lot of work and it requires a lot of commitment. So I really appreciate that. And after they reviewed my essays, I was quite overwhelmed because there were so many corrections and it seemed like I had no idea where to even start from. When I wrote the first draft, I thought that I knew there would be corrections, but I did not expect the corrections to be as many as they eventually were. There were so many improvement points, so many things that were unnecessary to add. Like, it was when I had to rewrite the essay, my next draft was almost like rewriting the whole essay. So you get a good picture of what I mean. It wasn't an easy task, and I felt a bit bad because I felt, whatever am I going to write? Like, when I wrote this first draft, I already gave my best. I really did not see what else to write about myself or how I could make the essay better, at least at that time. But when I looked at their points, took note of their reviews and their comments, I really did come up with something better, and I was very impressed. And this is a note to you out there if you're maybe in the shoes I was then, thinking, how can I write? Maybe you've seen someone's statement of purpose, or you've seen statement of purposes online, or someone has given you a very critical review of your essay, and you're feeling downcast and maybe asking yourself a question along the lines of, how can I ever write a good statement of purpose? I want to tell you that you can, you definitely can. I've been there before, and despite being there, I was still able to come up with a good statement of purpose. So it's possible. Don't doubt yourself and don't feel, don't like stay low. Make sure like you can definitely do it. That's just my point. You can do it. Put in the work, get people to help you have a second look at it, be ready to put in the work again in case they have corrections. And that's how we get better, right? Do what we have to do, get corrected, repeat it again, and so on, and keep the process going. So that's what I did. After I got their reviews, I rewrote my essay, sent it out again to one of my reviewers for a second review. She gave her comments, and then after a second review, I took time to take note of her second reviews again, and then I implemented the corrections and I got my final draft. After that, I still looked at the essay a few more times to see if I could improve anything, but that was basically it. And when I show you my two essays, I'm going to show you, you're going to see the difference, and you'll see why I actually felt overwhelmed after the first review. But before I show you the essays, I'm going to go over the main points that I saw them mention about the essays. One thing I would also like to say is that a statement of purpose is going to be unique to everybody. Your statement of purpose could look very different from mine. So I'm not going to tell you how to write a statement of purpose in quotes, but I'm rather going to just give you general elements that I think that you should include in your statement of purpose. And as we move on, you really see why your statement of purpose is going to be very different from mine or anyone else's, because your statement of purpose is unique to you, because you're going to talk about your story, many things that make you you, and no one else shares that. You're the only one who has that unique story, unique element about you. So that's why there's no one way to say this is how to write a statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose will differ, but then there are general guidelines that I believe you can follow, and you can follow to guide you towards writing a better statement of purpose. So onto my list. First point here is you want to have your name, the program you're applying to, and the school you're applying to at the very top of your essay. So you have your name, your program, and then you also now have statement of purpose, like as the title of the essay. Some schools also refer to it as a personal statement, so you can title it based on your situation. So your name, the program you're applying to, and then the title of the essay, which is statement of purpose in this case. You'll see my example near the end of this video, so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Second point on my list here is to talk about what you've done in as much detail as possible. It may sound like bragging, but it's not bragging. It's your opportunity to sell yourself to these people reviewing your application. You're never going to have another chance before your interview, of course, but if you don't get accepted to an interview, then where's your chance to really talk about yourself? Yes, you have your CV and you have your transcript, but they don't really talk about you as much as you can in words. And in like, your CV is limited, right? You have limited words to use in your CV, but in your essay, you can go into more detail about what you did at your place of work, what you did in school, what you actually learned in school, what your impact was in school, and so on. And one thing I would like to mention here is, you can see as I talk about what you've done, we tend to want to tell our stories, our journeys, and just go something along the lines of, oh, I was born in this kind of home, I'm from this country, and then I moved here, then I went here to study, and then I moved here again, I experienced this and that, which is nice, and which I think should be included in the essay. We should weave our stories like into the essay, but I also feel that it's not just our story that they want to hear. Our stories are important, they are what make us unique, but they also want to know our impact. What have you actually done? Yes, you've had these experiences, but what have you made out of it? Yes, you worked in this company, but what did you do while you were there? You were a student at this university, which is great, but while you were there, what did you learn? What value have you added to yourself that makes you a better fit for this program? And what values have you dished out to people too that makes us think that you have some value to dish out to us? Should we accept you into this university? So you want to talk about all these things, not just write a chronological story about yourself, telling us about your life journey. You want to talk about what you've done, talk about your impact. If you work somewhere, state very clearly what you did while you worked there. What was your contribution to the growth of that company? While you were in school, did you organize events for high school students during your undergraduate study? Were you part of planning any conferences? How was your mathematical education like? What did you learn? Did you take extra courses? Did you just talk about what you've done and not just give a story about how your life has been all through? I made that mistake in the first draft of my essay. As you will see, I basically just gave them like a rundown of my life. I was born in this family, I grew up here, then I went here for my diploma program, then I went here for my master's degree. I did like talk a little bit about what I had done, but it was mostly just my mathematical journey. Like one of my reviewers said, he said, it's good that I give a chronological review of my journey, but that's not what should be the main gist of the statement of purpose. So make sure you include things that you've done, mention your contributions and impact at all the places you have been, at least as much as the word limit allows you to. And that brings me to the third point, which is to take note of the word limit. Don't go over the word limit. There's usually a word limit, or could also be a page limit. Whatever limit has been set for the essays by the as you will see in the application guidelines, make sure that you follow it, because I don't know what the consequences will be if you don't, but I still think that it's good to obey the rules and don't take chances on things that you can easily avoid. So you can avoid going over the word limit. Try as much as possible to avoid it. Next on my list here is that don't sound like you're begging, be confident. It's easy to sound like you're begging sometimes, especially when you've maybe applied to different programs and none of them seem to take you in, and you're just like, this is my last hope, I really need to get into this graduate program. I know like it's easy for us to tend to just have this begging tone and not really talk much about what we have to offer, but rather just try to make I don't know how to explain it, but there's this begging tone that somehow we can have, and I will show you a part in the first draft of my essay that really highlights what I mean by a begging tone. You don't want to have a begging tone. This is the posture you want to have, the posture that yes, you are going to get a lot from this department. They are going to give you more knowledge. They're going to give you exposure to more research, exposure to more facilities that you can use for your research and for your study. They're going to allow you to collaborate with other great minds and all. Yes, this is very true. But in addition to this, you are also going to be beneficial to that program. And you have to really see first for yourself what value you are bringing to that program. Because if you don't see it yourself, how do you expect them to see it? Well, they might see it, but it might be difficult to see it, right? Because if you don't see it, then you most likely won't write it. And it's what you write that these people can read. They can't read your mind. They probably have never met you. So your essay is your point to really talk about what value you are also bringing. So it's not just a one-way exchange. You are giving to them while they give to you. So so don't make it sound like you're just looking to collect and collect and collect from them. Also let them know that you have value that you are bringing to their university. Yep, that's a very important point. Don't sound like you are begging. Fifth on my list here is to avoid repetitions. We tend to repeat ourselves a lot, maybe when we feel like we don't really have so much to say. So sometimes we repeat things from either our CVs or our transcripts. Sometimes there's room for that, but when you are just doing it to fill up space, then it shows that there is something wrong with the essay itself, because it's when you're writing a statement of purpose, you should not actually be trying to fill up space. The problem should be that you are trying to find space. I mean, you should be trying to squeeze all you have to say about yourself into the word or page limit that you've been given, not trying to meet up with that limit if you're actually doing it right. That's what I think, because there's so much to say about yourself. You've probably lived for more than 20 years, I guess, if I'm right. So there's a lot that you've done in those years. You've gone through undergraduate study, you've made an impact in one way or the other. You've worked, you could have worked in industry before. What did you do while you were there? There will be many things to talk about that you actually won't have time to repeat things just to fill up space. I hope this is clear. Like I said, some repetitions may be helpful. For example, you might want to repeat a course that you might want to state again that you've taken a certain course in your undergraduate study, maybe because it's relevant to the point you're talking about at that time in the essay. That's not bad. But if you're just repeating things, for example, as I will show you in one of my essays, I just repeated some things because I was just I didn't really have so much to say, so I was trying to just make my essays look long. And another reason why we repeat things is because maybe there's one part of our CVs that we think really stands out and we just want to emphasize over and over again because we really can't think of many other things about ourselves to say. Sometimes, like I said, this is subjective. It might be a good thing to bring it up again, but sometimes it's actually not necessary to bring it up again. They can see your CV and like you want to bring other information apart from what is in your CV. Like you already have your CV. Your statement of purpose should be an additional document, an additional opportunity for you to talk about yourself, and not just a repetition of everything that's in your CV or transcript. I guess that's the main point. So if you are actually talking about other things, you won't have time to repeat other information that can be found elsewhere. That's clear. The next point on my list is to mention professors that you would like to work with if admitted. This could be subjective depending on the school, because I know some schools don't really emphasize already having a professor in mind whose work you're interested in before you apply, but some schools really do encourage this. So depending on your school, do your research, and if your school encourages this, try to do research about the faculty members and see what they do. It's also good for you, right? Because you don't want to get admitted to a school where there's no professor who does what you're interested in. So you want to already know, at least have an idea of who you would like to work with for your graduate research. It's possible that you eventually don't work with this professor. There's room for change when you're in the program, but if your program really does emphasize this, I think it's also helpful for the program, your application reviewers, because they're faculty members who sit to review your application documents, because then they can also answer the question of whether you're a good fit for the program. Because if you can't find anyone who is interested, whose work you're interested in, then you might actually not be a good fit for that graduate program you're applying to, because you need someone to supervise you. And to find someone to supervise you for your research, the person has to be active in that area of research. Do you understand my point? So getting a faculty member whose work you are interested in and writing that faculty member's name in your essay and why you're interested in their work is like a very good point to take note of, especially if your school emphasizes it. If you're applying to a school that doesn't really mention it, then just be on the safe side. Do your research and make sure you know what you're talking about. Now, this is not saying just go and find any faculty member and say, I would like to work with this faculty member, and all like your whole statement of purpose and all you've been talking about is actually not coherent with this faculty member's work. Your whole statement of purpose has to be coherent. The whole story should sum up. There should be no part that's just like you just put this there just to fill up space, or just because someone said, oh, you have to put a professor's name, let me just add this professor. And so far you've been saying you're very interested in applied mathematics and this professor is involved in geometry. then that could like be a very bad one for your application. So not just any faculty member, a faculty member on whom you've done your research. The next point on my list here is to do your research about the school and mention what you really like about the school. Apart from the fact that you like this faculty member and you would like to work with them, what else do you like about the school? It could be a certain outreach program the department engages in. It could be something about the weather of the school, the location of the school, whatever it is. Just try to write something else that talks about why you are interested in the school. It's very important that the school also knows that you really want them. They're not just well, as long as they give me funding and they give me a position, I'll just go. Everyone wants someone that is interested in them. So the school also really wants to know why you are applying to the school. Are you really interested in the school? And if you've not done your research, it's going to show. So you want to do your research, find out things about the school, find things that actually interest you. It could be something about the sports team, it could be the climate, like I said. Whatever it is, it's going to be unique to you, and try to include it in your essay. Next is to try as much as possible to avoid grammatical errors. Now it's easier than ever to write essays without any grammatical errors whatsoever, because we have so many applications that check grammar for us. There's Grammarly. I use Grammarly, and Grammarly is really nice and helpful. I know there's a paid version, but so far I've only used the free version, and even the free version is enough, to be honest. I think that it does a really great job. There are other apps that I know that people sometimes use artificial intelligence now. Like, you have no excuse to have grammatical errors in your essays, so make sure that you get that one done. It's one of the things that you can very easily control, so try your best to get that done, to put it under your control. Well, it's already under your control, so try your best to make sure there are no errors. Something. And the last point of my list is to use LaTex for formatting if possible. LaTex might look complicated, but it's not. If you don't know what LaTex is, LaTex is a formatting software. It helps you to, basically it's for mathematical typesetting, but it can be used even for non-mathematical work. It's almost like Word, but then I think it really gives a really nice format to your work. It's very helpful when you have references and footnotes, etc. So you might want to look into it. If it's something that you don't have time for, then you can forget about it. I don't think it's a very compulsory element. But if you're already familiar with LaTex and you want to give it a try for your essays, then please do. I think it's a game changer. One of my reviewers suggested this, and I really found the LaTex formatting nicer for my essays than the Word formatting. So you might want to give LaTex a go for writing your essays. Those are the points I had to share. And now I'm going to go over those points again, but instead of going over them again and then coming back to the essays, I'm going to go over them while I show you the essays, and I'm going to show you how I implemented all of those improvement points as I moved from my first draft to the final draft of my essays. So stay tuned, this is going to be interesting. Please don't laugh at my first draft too much, but I'm sure you'll find this helpful. So let's get right into it. These are my two essays. So the first we have to the left here is the first draft of my essay, and to the right here is my final draft. Don't laugh at my first draft. But you can see a lot of improvement. When, like, reading the second essay, you have so much more idea about who I am than you would have if you read the first essay. And I'm going to point out the different points to you, and at the same time take the opportunity to review the point I mentioned in the first part of this video. So first thing we note here is that I include my name and the program I'm applying to right at the top here, unlike in the first essay where I didn't. So there's the name, there's the title of the essay, which is personal statement, and then I have here the program and school I am applying to, which I believe is very important because my reviewers did mention that. Then second on my list here is that, you see, in the second essay, I talk more about what I have done. I talk about myself in more detail than I did in the first essay. So in the first essay, I was basically just going over my life story. I talked about the fact that, oh, I'm Nigerian, then I went for my bachelor's degree. I completed it. Then I moved on to ICTP for a postgraduate diploma. Then I went for a master's degree and so on. Basically just describing my academic journey to whoever is reading the essay, which is good, but which is not all I could have said about myself. I really did not go into more detail about what impact I made at all the different institutions I was in, what I really learned. For example, I did not really talk much about my thesis, the different theses I wrote. I did mention them, but not in so much detail. So if you read the first essay, you only get a vague idea about me. And you know, okay, this girl has gone to this school and this school and this school, but I don't really know what she knows. And the people reading your essay really want to know what you know, because that's when they can assess more holistically what value you are bringing to their department. So it's important to talk about what you learn and what impact you have made in all the places that you have been. Then next on my list is don't sound like you're begging, be confident. You might not really notice, but somehow in this first essay I wasn't very confident. I to be honest, I wasn't sure what value I was bringing to the program, and I was thinking, well, I don't know why you would want to accept me, but I hope you do. And I think it did show in the essay because my reviewers picked it up. So, for example, there's a place here where I wrote I was certain I would like to continue my studies in a developed country so I could have access to better facilities and so on. Well, this, like, of course, I have access to better facilities here than I did in Nigeria, but somehow my tone was not, I did not put it in the right tone. I could have put it in a better way. Like I did mention in my other essays that I wanted to move here, but then without having to reference Nigeria in not in a poor light, I could have still made my point clear and said that, oh, I really want to move here because I will have access to these facilities and to meet more people, to increase my mathematical reach, to get to hear about people from a different culture and how they approach mathematics. Many other points I could have mentioned without making it sound like I'm really begging and pleading with them to give me this position. The next point on my list is avoid repetitions. If you see the essay on the left, I repeated some things that were already in my CV that was not necessary. To be honest, the reason why I repeated these points, for example, my CGPA here, was because I really did not feel like I had so much to say about myself. So the little things I had to say, I tried to make sure I emphasize them as much as possible. But like I said, the truth is there's a lot of things for you to say about yourself. You only have to take time to think deeply about them, and you find more than enough things to say. So I could have done that to avoid all of these repetitions. And you see, in my second essay, I did not even have to talk about my CGPA. Even if I wanted to, there was no space because I had put in a lot more things that actually should be in an SOP than I did in my first essay. Next point on my list is that mention professors that you would like to work with if admitted. In my first essay, there was nothing like that. I just said what I was interested in. I did give an idea of what field I was interested in, but not who I would like to work with in the university. And that shows that I've not yet done my research well enough to know if I was actually a good fit for their department. If I have something in mind that I would like to work on, I definitely need a supervisor, and that means I need someone to work with. And if I have someone who I would like to work with in mind, then I should make sure I include it in my essay. Then next point is mention professors you would like to work with. Okay, I said that already. Next is do your research about the school. My reviewer did mention that in my first essay. I didn't really have anything in particular that I liked about the school. It was more about just coming to the school, but the people reading the essay will want to know why our school. We're not the only graduate program in this country. Why this particular one? And you need to have something to tell them. The next point is remember to thank them for considering your application, which I did in my in my final draft. I didn't in my first draft. My first draft I just ended. Okay, well, I did say that even in my first draft. I wasn't sure I did. Then I added, I look forward to a favorable response. I think it's a nice thing to add. The next point is to Remember, okay, I said that already. Avoid grammatical errors. I ran both essays through Grammarly, and I think grammatically they were fine. So most of the work I had to do was just doing the hard work, which was writing more about myself and structuring my essay well, doing my homework, doing my research before sitting down to write the statement of purpose. Next is using LaTex for formatting, and I did use LaTex for formatting this essay. And you can see the difference. The first one was with Word, and the second one is with LaTeX. With LaTeX, I think you can really do a lot. One of my reviewers suggested it, and I really found, like, I think it looks nicer. I think you can make it look this nice in Word. I'm not so sure, but I did this with LaTeX, and I really like it. So if you're able to get nice formatting results with Word, then by all means go ahead and use Word. I'm not a LaTeX influencer. And then finally, avoid going over the word limit. I try to make sure I stayed within the word limit. I tried not to go over by even one word, although it was very tempting in my second essay. See all the things I had to say about myself. I really made a lot of improvement. I can see that myself too, and basically that's it. These are the two essays I want to show you. And once more, I want to encourage you to not give up. My essays went from this first draft to this final draft, so things can actually get better. You just need to put in the work, which is a lot of work. Putting in the work is a lot of work. That's all for watching this video. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, as I'm sure you did. Remember to share a friend, and feel free to refer back to this video if you're thinking about writing a statement of purpose over and over again until you become an expert. Thank you, and I would like to hear from you. Please drop your comments in the comment section. Do you have any specific questions? No, I can't review essays. I'm currently very busy and my hands are full, but I'll be glad to answer any specific questions you may have about writing statements of purpose in the comment section. Or if you have a general tip you would like to share about writing a statement of purpose, please do drop it there. Others will find it helpful. And if you could take a moment to answer the poll that I'll post in the comment section, I'll be glad. I really like polls, and I like to hear from you and know how all of you think and get your opinions about different things. So please respond to the poll if you can. I really appreciate it. Bye. See you next time.